Teofimo Lopez calls out Gervonta Tank Davis for being a little bit too afraid to fight him. Obviously, I hope that's not the case because I personally think that Tank and Teofimo Lopez is the biggest fight for either fighter when it comes to stylistic matchups. There's not a bigger fight that I want to see and stylistically pleasing, is Teofimo Lopez and Tank Davis. I just think that's such an exciting fight. If you really, I know I keep saying stylistic matchup, but guys, look at their styles. Two guys that are counter punchers by nature who don't really look the best when they have to go get other guys, and more so Teofimo Lopez. Honestly, I take that back. I would say that Tank looks good when he's going for guys and when he's setting traps on the back foot. So Tank looks good. I think Teofimo Lopez in a lot of ways needs to start having more consistent and linear growth, in my opinion. I think he's been fighting guys, I will, say to his credit that he's been fighting guys that don't really care to engage with him. I think a big reason why is because they feel the power in that ring with Teofimo Lopez. But yeah, I really would like to see Teo and Tank go at it. Teo was on a podcast talking about how, they were asking him about the possibility of him fighting Tank, and he said, no, Tank's too scared to fight me. And he said it in more explicit terms, but I'll keep it a little bit more appropriate for the channel. But yeah, he didn't have anything nice to say about Tank. Thinks that he's scared he thinks that Tank's scared to fight him, and I think it's a really good fight. I don't know if Tank is scared. I don't think so. I do think that, he would take Teo seriously, though. I know that, Tank wouldn't sleep on a guy like Teofimo Lopez, because I think that Teo probably has not the exact power to match Tank, but he definitely has a strong level of pop that I think, like no other fighter, in a combination with his IQ and his pure talent, I think he could give Tank a hard time. So that's a big reason why I really want to see Tank and Teo go at it at 140. That's a fight, that's like must-see TV for me. When it comes to the sport of boxing, I'm very particular about what fights I really want to see and I feel like I need to see. I think Teo and Tank is one of those fights that I really need to see because two guys, both have power, both athletic, both counter punchers. I feel like stylistically it doesn't get much better than that. But it's all a matter of, Tank being willing to accept that challenge at 40. Obviously came in against Frank Martin, weighed in more than a pound under 35. So that tells me he may be sending a message to guys at 140 saying that, hey, I'm still barely making 35. I have all the time in the world. I'm going to take my time to fight at 140. I'm in no rush really to go fight a guy at 140 is what I took away from Tank coming in, more than a pound under 35. So looking at that, I feel like that's fine. I'm not even saying that I need the Teofimo Lopez fight right away. I'm saying that I need it, in the future, no matter when it goes down. Obviously, I don't want to see it when these guys are in their mid to late 30s. I'd rather see it in a year or two. But ultimately, Tank fighting at 35, I've been telling you guys, it looks like we're going to get the Lomachenko fight. That's what all sources are saying. But if we don't get that fight, I feel like it's got to be Shakur Stevenson. I don't want to hear anything about a Isak Cruz rematch. I feel like that's very random. Isak Cruz is obviously fighting Jose Valenzuela on, I think it's like August, the same card as Virgil Ortiz and, Terrence Crawford. All those guys are fighting on that card as well. It's going to be a very exciting event, but regardless, going back to Tank, I think that Teo has to be on his hit list. I think that Teo saying that Tank is afraid, I think that should motivate him to take a fight with Teofimo Lopez if he really wasn't intending on fighting him. I think that Tank always had Teo on the list of guys that he wants to fight because they do have history. Teo's a big name, Tank is a big name. Other than that, there aren't a lot of fighters that give that same star appeal that Tank does. I think that Teo is one of those few guys that is in that category of very polarizing fighters where we're very intrigued with the antics, how he intends to promote a fight. Obviously, Teofimo Lopez is fighting Steve Claggett. That's going to be an exciting fight. I don't know what version of Teo we're going to get because obviously Steve Claggett is one of those underdog fighters that you can't sleep on, and I always say that Teo takes big risks when it comes to the matchmaking at Top Rank. There are a lot of fighters that aren't the biggest names in the world, and Teo isn't he's been on the record saying that he's not happy with the money that he's making. He feels like he's underpaid at Top Rank. So taking that into account, and then at the same time understanding that he's fighting legitimate opposition, even though they might not be names to you. These guys are legit pros, and they have more motivation than ever. It's a big stage. Everybody sees Teofimo as a target. They're going to go after him and try to pull off a big win. If they can't do that, obviously they may never get on a big stage again. So keeping that in mind, Teofimo Lopez is fighting a lot of guys for high risk but low reward. So I think that Teo, I have a lot of respect for Teofimo. He's always been very kind when I've interviewed him in the past. He's a great guy. Him and his father are cool people. But I really want to see that Tank fight. I hope they're not, turning that possibility away completely. I would like to see Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez as well, but I think stylistically, Teo and Tank is a mega fight, not only from the promotion and marketing aspect of the sport of boxing, not only in the business aspect, but it's just a good fight. It's gonna be one of those fights where someone's probably getting stopped in that one. But Teo obviously saying that he thinks Tank is afraid of him. I don't think Tank is afraid of anybody right now. Tank is very dangerous. I think, if anything, he thinks he could beat anybody on the planet right now. Fighting a guy like Frank Martin, the way that he did, staying calm, pressure fighting, high guard, it's a very scary sight to see Tank, almost getting better and better each time. That's the thing that I think separates Tank and Teo, is that Tank has continuously made this linear progression where every single one of his fights continues to get better through his performances. And then you have a guy like Teo, and I think a lot of this is a matchmaking issue as well. He's getting put in there against guys that are counterpunchers themselves, so it's hard for Teo to fight another counterpuncher when he's a counterpuncher himself. He's used to guys coming forward and then he's kind of picking his shots and being more defensive. I think that's the kind of style that Teo needs. He needs a come forward fighter so that he looks better. But in the past, he's been fighting guys like Sandor Martin, Jermaine Ortiz, guys that are more in the back foot, are a little bit more slippery and defensive. And I think Teo needs those come forward fighters to be at his best. In my opinion, I don't know. I think Teo, he's done a lot of interviews saying that he still has a lot to improve on, and that's good to hear. Good to know that his mentality isn't like, oh, that guy just ran, and part of him still believes that, but also he knows that he can do better against guys who are counterpunchers, who are movers, because Teo is talented. Teo is very talented. He's beaten a guy like Vasily Lomachenko. He's beaten a guy like Richard Comey. He's beaten a guy like Josh Taylor. So he has all the confidence in the world. He has a great resume at 140. He's a world champ. So I'm excited to see him return, but I do think that he has to start racking up consecutive and more linear performances when it comes to seeing his progression and growth. I think we need to see better and better, but it also comes with the matchmaking. It also comes with that level of opposition, and maybe it's that mental game where he needs the big names to really bring the best out of him. Because when we look at it stylistically, obviously, when they're come forward fighters, Teofimo looks good, but also when they're big names, it seems like he really seems to get out of his seat. It gets him more motivated to make these fights, one-sided in his favor when he fights guys like Josh Taylor and when he fights guys like Vasily Lomachenko. Even though a lot of people thought that, Lomachenko maybe won that fight, did enough to win that fight. I don't think anyone, really within the boxing community believes that Teo lost that fight. I think that was a very convincing win. I think Teofimo Lopez beat Lomachenko in cleaner fashion than Devin Haney did, and I think Devin and Teo is a fight that has to go down in the future as well. I think that's a big fight, but the biggest fight for me is Tank and Teo. I think that stylistically poses the biggest challenge for both fighters, and both guys could get knocked out in that fight, in my opinion. I think Teo has a level of power that people aren't giving enough praise and attention to, because we're so used to seeing guys like Ryan Garcia on the big stage and Tank Davis on the big stage. We sleep on Teo, but I really do consider Teo a big threat to Tank. Do I favor him in that fight? I think that's more of a 50-50 fight if I've ever seen one. Tank is really good. It's more so, my concern is more so, what version of Teofimo Lopez do we get? Are we getting a distracted Teofimo Lopez where he's dealing with stuff outside of the ring? And that's obviously, nothing that Teo can control. Teo, at his best mentality, very hard fighter to beat, probably maybe even unbeatable. But when he has distractions, that's when it kind of becomes a little bit of a problem and sometimes impacts his performances in a negative way. But I think him and Tank is the fight to make. But let me know in the comments who you guys got, Tank and Teo. I think, for me, it's a 50-50 fight right now. Let's see how Teo looks against Steve Claggett, and then we'll go from there. But it's gonna be a great fight between Teo and Tank when that goes down at 140. But let me know in the comments who you guys got. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Like, comment, and of course subscribe. But I appreciate the constant support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. That's going to do it for another NASFight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Mandabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.